Listen, this is exactly what I'm saying. Listen, sisters, brothers, listen. In your comment in itself, it explains a lot, right? The reason that black people can't go on an offensive boycott, right, and do damage to these white institutions is because they feed themselves. So there is a defense mechanism in place that prevents them from being punched in the eye by black people boycotting, right? Which is why the agenda of black people boycotting, if they had one, would be, or at least it should be, centered around defensive mechanism as opposed to going on the offense, right? Because anytime there's a team structure set up, right? Let's use football, right? We are either going to be an offensive team or we're going to be a defensive team, right? But if we continuously keep getting scored or getting the ball rammed down our goddamn throat, right, then what we invest a large amount or the largest amount of our money in is in defense and making sure that other people's offense can't stay on the field and our offense stays on the field the longest, right? What that means in terms of us and our boycotting is that our boycotting has to be set up in a defense style mechanism, right, that allows us to turn the money that is spent with others back in onto ourselves to prevent us, right, from being punched in the eye continuously by these groups of people, right? And what that looks like for us in terms of the black church, right, is this. Every single year, the black church absorbs $80 billion out of the black community, right? Every 10 years, $800 billion, damn near $1 trillion. That's the GDP of Mexico in itself, right? Yearly GDP of Mexico. Churches are open one day a week, right, and generate that amount of money, and all during the week it sits dormant while doing absolutely nothing for the black community. If the black church has $80 billion disposable every year, why is there not an HVAC, you know what I'm saying, apprenticeship in the basement of this goddamn church, considering every church that I've ever been in always arguing about donate this and that because the church needs a new AC, right? Why is there not a new auto body shop, an auto mechanic shop in the basement of the church, right? Considering the pastor always needs something fresh and reliable to ride in, right? Why is there not, an esthetician certification class, right? A cosmetology class, plumbing classes, right? Electrician classes, right? Landscaping classes, STEM classes, anything that will create industry for ourselves, right? So we can put people out into the world, right? That would create things that would benefit us, right? $80 billion a year is enough right now to go down there to the Amazon in South America and buy up 200 hectares of land, right, and start a farming operation in order to start bringing fruits and vegetables back up into black communities to give to us at a discounted rate, right? 800 billion in 10 years is enough to put a brand new black owned, not a Target, let's just call it a Blarget, right, in every major metropolis in America, right, in 10 years, that we don't have to go march in and have to boycott because we own it. We now dictate what the policy is going to be and the hiring practices is going to be and whose majority products are going to be on the shelves and sold to us, right? This is the idea that we've got to get ourselves into. We can't go into the offensive sector with white people or white businesses until we have a defense mechanism for ourselves that protects us in the event that they say, you know what, these niggas are going offensive. Let's cut off their food supply, right? Let's cut off their power. Let's cut off their water, right? But what we have to have for ourselves are things that feed us, right? House us, shelter us, protect and defend the things that we build for ourselves. And the money that the church has wasted since 1980 has got to be over $1.5 trillion. That is enough to finance, right, the betterment or empowerment of every black person in America, right? Every black person in America could be a multi-millionaire if the black church would have took all of these donations, right, and just held it until now with interest piling on top of it, right? And 40 years later said, okay, let's divvy up this $1 trillion right here between the 45 million of us in here. I haven't done the math, but how much money is that? $1 trillion divided by 45 million people. Every black person listening to this right now would be a multi-millionaire, right? And you would not be dependent on white people or white businesses to provide any of the things that you needed in order to sustain yourself. And having that level of security then allows you to go on the offensive and start beating motherfuckers across the head, because there's nothing that you can do because you're so well insulated and protected by your community and the infrastructure and industries that your community has produced for themselves. It is absolute bullshit to think that you can walk into a Target, right? Say you're going to boycott them all week, and then you decide, hey, we're going to go in here and have a buy-in, but we're only buying black-owned brands. From being a brand owner, what I know is that majority of the time, in order to get these bulk orders right, the black-owned customer has been paid in advance, right? Where Target puts in a large order, the customer has to fulfill that order, Target pays them off, and then he puts it on their shelves at an elevated cost in order to make his money back and the profit. That's what these companies do. So going inside of a Target and only patronizing black businesses puts Target's money back in its pocket, and then it gives it more money out of your pocket, right? Increasing the wealth, right? Making it that much more harder for us to bust them in the goddamn eye, because like you said, they feed each other, and that is a defense mechanism that they use to prevent us from ever having any real conglomerative power against what they have going on, because we don't realize how teams structure themselves in order to win, right? If you want a solid team, regardless if it is football, people, whatever, right? You set your defense first to minimize the offensive impact of anybody that is going to come at you. After that is set, then you can go on the offensive and start destroying anything that is preventing your upward movement and mobility.